In the last lecture, we looked at humans as makers of tools. We looked at this old belief that humans are the only animals that make tools. And we saw that lots of other animals make tools, particularly the great apes, but not only the great apes. We saw interesting videos of crows making tools. We talked about elephants using tools. We talked about dolphins using tools. But we also saw there are real differences between human tools and the tools made by other animals. Humans make tools in multiple steps. They make them out of multiple techno units. They make complex tools. And these tools play a really big role in human ecology. If you look at tools made by our closest neighbors, who are probably the best tool makers, the chimpanzees or the great apes, we find the tools are always made out of a single piece. There's never a multi-step construction process. There's never a composite tool. They spend a long time learning basic tool-making techniques, like the stone as an anvil. And ecologically, they're much less important in chimpanzee life than tools are for us. If you take away human tools, human technologies, I claimed we would have a lot of difficulty surviving. Some people contested that. So I'd like to remind you that technology is not just your iPhone and your GPS, which most people except me can survive without. Technology is
all iPhone
I can live without, but GPS is hopeless. But technology is also how to sow seed, how to kill a chicken, how to find your way at night when there's only stars. And that sort of thing we do most of us, without the techniques we've learned from our culture, most of us do very badly. Yes, question?
But other animals do know how to kill other animals in certain ways, and they probably do it in the same way over generations. So
but other animals definitely, if you're a carnivore, you definitely know how to kill other animals. But we managed to kill a far greater range of other animals. If you try killing an elephant without tools, without digging a hole, without a spear, and you have big problems. You might be able to kill chicken. That's okay. But actual chimpanzees hunt, and they hunt without weapons. They hunt red Columbus monkeys. But that's their only prey apart from beetles and little things. And they catch the monkeys by sort of encircling them, and then they tear them apart with their hands. But without the tools, they have a much smaller range of prey than humans do. So tools really are very useful indeed. Yeah.
I think the question would be, if you, for example, take a lion cub and have it grow up without any examples of its parents or lioness hunting, would it still be able to figure out how to use its teeth and its speed to hunt down a gazelle?
It's a good question. I suspect it gets some training. I also suspect it would work something out. I suspect. I don't know that as a fact. So anyway, just to carry on, we talked about tools. We also talked about abstract thought. And we looked at these huge lists which cognitive psychologists have built about things which allegedly only humans could do. And we saw things like categorization. And then we saw pigeons distinguishing between pictures of Picasso and pictures by Manet, and matching scores by students from Stanford. We saw pigeons making same different judgments. We saw planning by animals, planning by crows, and so on and so forth. So again, no one contests that humans don't do this better, but the idea that this is exclusively a human capability is probably false, or it is false. We can see it's false. And we also saw some methodological difficulties in the various experiments psychologists have done. So very often you get an experiment where you test a human on a certain ability, you test another animal, very often a chimpanzee, on the same ability. But then you find it's not the same experiment, because the chimpanzee is in a cage, the human is not in a cage, the chimpanzee infant is isolated from its mother, the human infant is sitting in its mother's arms, and so on and so forth. So when you get negative results from these lab experiments, there's a lot of doubts about the methodology involved. The alternative is to do wild studies, which the lab people attack because they don't have proper controls. They say they're just anecdotal evidence. And we saw some of the heroic methods that people go into for wild studies, which which have given us some interesting results. I'm going to talk about today as well. So, the theme for today, I talked about abstract thought and tools. These are two things which used to be claimed were unique to humans. Today I'm going to look at things which maybe are even more characteristic of humans. I'm going to look at human language. And I'm going to look at human culture. About half the lecture is going to be on language, half is going to be on culture. Again, we're going to see there are very real differences between human language and the language of other animals, between human culture, the culture of other animals, but we're also going to see that some of the basic abilities on which language is built maybe are present in other animals. So that's the theme for today. Then next week, we start looking at the actual machinery which does this, the brain. So, going forward, there's been lots of claims that language is unique to humans. And the first thing we have to look at is what we actually mean by language. Because while people say that language is unique to humans, no one would deny that non-human animals also have communication systems. So we know, for instance, that vervet monkeys, they have special cries which they make, which distinguish between different predators they see and which they use as alarm calls. So they have one particular cry for snakes, they have a different, easily distinguishable cry for leopards, and they have another cry for eagles, and you can test that they really are understood because you can do replay experiments, you can put loudspeakers in the forest, replay these cries, and the monkeys behave appropriately. So, yes, they communicate, but this does not mean that they have language in the human sense of the word. You get the same thing even in bees. We know since Frisch that bees have this dance language with which they can communicate to other bees both the location and the kind and the amount of food, of pollen, which is available. So they do this dance, a wiggle dance. The direction of the dance tells you what direction the food is, the speed tells you how much, and there's some other signs which say what it is. So they do communicate, but this again is not language in a human sense of the word. So, in a recent study they've actually looked at signs. Chimpanzees, we're going to see later, can't make human vocal language. They have anatomical restrictions, which mean they can't do it. But they do use gestures, and there's a recent study by Whittam where they've managed to identify up to 100 different gestures used in the wild which actually carry meaning. The meaning can be, I want to mate with you, I want to share that food, go away, leave her alone, and so on and so forth. And they're precise meanings, and what's interesting is that they have regional variations. So the sign you use in one place to mean I want sex is not the same sign used in a different community of chimpanzees. So this is something of language, but it's still missing many important features of human language. First of all, there's very few things you can say. Like even in this latest study of the chimpanzees, they have up to about 100 symbols. It's estimated that a well-educated American high school kid can recognize about 60,000 words, lemmas, and that's without considering their various grammatical variations. So between 100 and 60,000, there's an absolutely enormous difference. Humans have syntax. We can combine our words in different ways to carry different sense. So if I say Mary hits John, that has a completely different sense than John hits Mary. In English, we use the word order to carry sense. To our knowledge, there's no, and that allows humans to combine our signs into practically an infinite number of possible sentences. To our knowledge, no animal language system has that whatsoever. So we can sort of distinguish between animal language systems and human ones. Animal systems are quite a lot genetically determined. We know these vervet monkeys develop their characteristic cries even when they've not been in contact with their mothers. In humans, our languages are definitely a production of culture. If you live here, you learn Hebrew, you might learn English. If you live in China, you learn Mandarin, you might learn Cantonese. If you, according to which culture you're brought up in, you have a completely different language. This is not true for animals, though we see a little bit of this in the chimpanzees, but not very much. So we get massive, because of this, we get massive diversity of human languages. We know there's a thing called anthropologue, which has made this huge encyclopedia of languages, which is very, very useful. And they recognize at least 6,000. They may miss some, and there's some sort of debates when two things are a language and when they're a dialect. It might be 5,000, it might be 7,000. But there's thousands of completely different languages, and there's actually quite a lot of completely different language patterns. So you have Semitic languages, you have Indo-European languages, you have Tibeto-Chinese languages, and so on and so forth. And they've got very little to do with each other. So human language is vastly communicative, it has syntax, and it's vastly diversified. Now, there's a man called Tekume Fish, whose books and articles I strongly recommend to you, who, for purposes of convenience, he's written one of the standard textbooks on language evolution. For purposes of convenience, he divides language into 3 bits. He talks about speech, he talks about semantics, and he talks about syntax. So I want to go through these one by one, and in each case I want to see what are the points of similarity between humans and other animals, and what are the differences. So let's start with speech. Now, none of us are really aware of it, because for all of us, and for me in particular, talking is very easy. We like talking. And when we talk, just in terms of speech, it's a fabulously complicated motor act. We produce air in our lungs. It comes to our larynx, which gives us some formants. It basically acts as a filter, allowing certain frequencies to go through and other frequencies not to go through. And then we do all these fabulously complex muscle movements in our tongue and our lips and the whole vocal apparatus to shape those basic frequencies into what we call speech. And we're moving these muscles many, many times a second to produce speech. We all find it easy, but actually it's very difficult indeed. Now, it was long believed that humans had a special anatomy. Our larynx goes down, our larynx is lower in the throat than in the apes, and that this anatomical difference was responsible for human speech. But what has actually been found more recently is that this is simply not true. This does distinguish us compared to the other great apes. So none of the other great apes can produce anything, just any sound remotely resembling human speech. But there are many other animals, including weird animals like goats and deer, who do have a descended larynx. So just saying that this one anatomical difference is enough to explain why humans have speech and why other animals don't is not good enough. It does explain why we have speech, or at least it's part of the explanation, why we have speech and chimpanzees or orangutans or bonobos don't. It doesn't explain why humans have speech and other animals don't. And in fact, there's several other animals which can produce sounds as complex as our own. You heard yesterday the video of Alex, the parrot, who's been trained, we're going to see later, to do a lot of interesting semantics and interesting syntax. And when Alex speaks, the quality of the speech is as high as that of many human kids. It's very hard to work out which is the bird and which is the kid. So humans aren't the only one who can produce controlled speech. Some crows can do it too. Cetaceans, they can't produce our sounds, but they can produce very complex sequences of sounds. There's even a paper talking about elephants imitating sounds of trucks along the road. So we are the only species that really produces human speech, but many other animals do have the ability to make complex, very fast articulation of sound. So to just say that we've changed our anatomy and this is the key to everything is false. Now that is speech. Let's I think most of you won't think of speech when you talk about language. You'll think more about semantics. And as I said, humans develop this absolutely enormous vocabulary. You have a passive vocabulary. This is the vocabulary you can understand, which for all of you is tens of thousands of words. And you have an active vocabulary. This is the vocabulary you actually use to communicate. And all of us have thousands and thousands. Some of us, when we're well educated, tens of thousands of words. So this is very, very large. And humans understand that if I make a word, like word, this refers to some object or action or adjective or descriptor in the real world. And for a long time, it was believed that this was a uniquely human capability. The idea that we can use words referentially, to refer to something in the outside world, to communicate information about the outside world. But in the 1960s, a series of people wanted to investigate if apes could do the same thing. Now they recognized that apes could not produce speech. So if they were going to use speech, this was going to get them absolutely nowhere. So they used at least two different strategies for teaching the apes language. And I'm going to show you the first of them was by an ape called Washoe, so which we're going to see here.
Most famous and controversial attempts began in Nevada.
On June 21st, 1966, an infant chimpanzee arrived in our laboratory. We named her Washoe for Washoe County, the home of the University of Nevada. Because she was captured wild in Africa, we will never know just where or when Washoe was born, but we estimate that she was about 10 months old when she arrived in Reno.
Because chimps' vocal apparatus doesn't allow them to make the sounds of human speech, psychologists Alan and Trixie Gardner decided to teach Washoe sign language, used by the deaf. To help Washoe learn her signs, they used many techniques, including fun and familiar games repeated over and over again.
The first sign that we did indeed teach to Washoe was a sign for more. 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 More.
Natural chimpanzee gestures provided the basis for some signs.
Come. Open. Open, hurry. Open. Open, hurry. Open, hurry. Open. Open. Open.
Where is the play baby? Where?
As she grew up, Washoe's vocabulary gently expanded. For the first time, an ape was shown to use a human language.
Smart, Washoe.
Good, 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 me. Yes, you're very good. Good, go. Good, go. Where? You. Peekaboo. Out, me. Oh, play hide. Peekaboo. Okay. Come, good Washoe. Come with me.
The Gardners reported that Washoe could eventually use 133 signs.
Good Wash and I are going to go.
By then,
Notice there's some problems here. Notice those words. The Gardners reported. This work was very much criticized because it was very much their subjective reports about what the chimpanzee could do, and was it really signing? Was it just going like that? And they said open. Not clear. But work went on. And the next video I'm going to show you is about a bonobo. Bonobos are dwarf chimpanzees, famous for having a sort of voracious sexual life. They enjoy that. In this case, instead of using sign language, where there's a lot of subjective problems about interpretation, they taught chimpanzees lexigrams. They had this huge keyboard with lots of arbitrary symbols on the keyboard, where each symbol had a meaning. And they would talk, and Kamsi learned to understand things. They would ask questions, and Kamsi would answer by pressing keys on this keyboard. And the advantage of the keyboard is that you can get an objective computer record of everything Kamsi has done. This is digital. You can say yes or no, and you can count it.
Banana.
Banana.
Very nice.
Banana. Banana.
Can you find peanut?
Peanut.
Thank you. Will you find egg?
Sherman. Egg.
Good. Can you find milk? Milk.
Milk.
Good. How about apple?
Apple.
Very good. How about Sue?
Sue.
Very good. Can you find peanut?
Peanut.
Very nice.
Peanut.
How about egg? Egg.
Egg.
Great, honey. How about chow? Have you had any chow in a while? Have you had chow lately?
Chow.
You might have to have some
Chow.
Yeah, you think so? I could give you a piece of
Chow.
That would be good, wouldn't it? How about, let's see, tomato? Tomato.
Tomato.
Good. Let's go on the keyboard too. There. Can you find onions?
Onion.
Good. Potato.
Potato.
Blueberries.
Blueberry.
How about good? Good. Good. That's right. Just go ahead and hit it.
Good.
Very good.
Good.
Sure, good boy. Now, let's see, strawberries. Can you find strawberries?
Strawberry.
We have to get away from being primate-centric. So, if we're talking just about semantics and referential use of symbols, there was a remarkable dog called Ricci, whose performance was reported in Science in 2004, who was trained by his owners to recognize about 100 words. To test this ability, about 200 objects, of which they belong to 20 classes. So there would be 10 objects of each class. They would then pick a random selection, put them in a room, and then say, go and fetch me the doll, go and fetch me the bone, go and fetch me this. And they would do it through a loudspeaker, so there was no possibility of a clever hands effect. And the dog would get it 37 out of 40 times correct, which is very nice. That's what they reported. What was even more impressive was the dog could perform something which kids can do, which is called fast mapping. In fast mapping, the teacher uses a word the dog has never heard before. Blog, whatever. And the dog goes into the room, there's the familiar objects, and there is one unfamiliar object. If the dog hears the unfamiliar word, and there is only one unfamiliar object in the room, the dog will work out logically that this is the object the word is referring to, and will retrieve it. And these experiments were pretty well controlled, so much so that they made it to scale.
Who is that pilot? Who is the pilot? Who's the pilot?
If you believe linguists, yes.
Question, are these all objects that he met before?
Oh yes. He's trained to know the association between objects and words.
In order to say that it's recognition of symbols, don't you need to have something, I mean, if you have some kind of categorization, then we'd be able to say that...
Well, no, he doesn't learn a one-to-one to the object. There are 20 categories, and there are 10 objects in each category. So he hasn't always, So he's not just learning a lookup table.
So he knows what's a fruit, and then he
Yeah.
can bring either
What's a
banana
fruit?
or
What's a exactly? What's a fruit? What's a doll? What's a bone? He doesn't learn that specific bone. But of course, if you are a theoretical linguist, the crown of human linguistic achievement is syntax. We have grammar, and humans, by using grammatical words, we can combine our 60,000 odd symbols into really an infinite number of sentences, and we can even build them up recursively. So I can sort of say, I love the game which is played at school, where I go on Tuesdays, which is my favourite day because it's close to Christmas. You know, I can make these sentences which go on and on and on. And I can do that because of the power of human grammar, and I can do it in probably all natural human languages, regardless of what the language is. Children learn this very fast. You get a child at 18 months, it knows only 2 or 3 words. By 2.5 or 3, whatever its native language, it's learnt all the basic grammar of the language. Maybe it hasn't learnt the really refined grammar you only use when you write. But sorry? By 2.5 or 3. It hasn't learnt the refined grammar you learn at school. So I don't know about Hebrew, but in English we have conjunctives and strange conditionals. We have irregular plurals. It won't learn that. You know, mice will probably be mouses. Sheep will be sheeps. They over-regularize the past tense. So you say, I go to the school instead of I went to the school. But the real basics of the grammar, the kid will have, and all normal kids always acquire it. And Chomsky used this as evidence that there is a language instinct. Some of you may have read the famous book by Steven Pinker about the language instinct, that its language is somehow innate. And when he says it's innate, what he's really talking about is not semantics, because obviously we don't have genes for specific words. We acquire them through use, but it's grammar. Chomsky would claim there is a universal grammar, certain rules which are common to all human languages, and you can parametrize it. You can fix a certain number of parameters, and by adjusting these parameters, you can create any of the real languages we have in our life. So just to give one example, according to which language you can start with the subject, carry on with the verb, end with the object, so that's called an SVO language. You can have subject, object, verb, you can have verb, object, subject, you can have verb, subject, object, you can have all the combinations. Those are parameters. According to Chomsky, you can if you get a set of parameters, he keeps on changing what they are, that's another thing. You get a set of parameters, and from the universal grammar, you can generate any known grammar. And we have discrete combinatorics, we have an argument structure. So in any language, we know how to construct sentences. Like in English, we start with a subject, we carry on with a verb, then we have an object, and we have rules for how we deal with, for instance, a subject can be a noun, it can be a noun phrase, and so on. We have close classed words. Those are generic words like of, which I can use to connect things. And if, according to Chomsky and all the followers of Chomsky, this is unique to humans, and this is what gives us our linguistic power. And once you've got the linguistic power, you've got a key tool for making humans society. So, questions. Can non-human animals also have syntax? And the answer is, in Italian we have the word ni. In Italian, si means yes, no means no, and ni, which we sort of invent, means sort of. Like, yes, there could be some rules, but they're incredibly simple compared to English rules. So, Washue, which it was the chimpanzee we saw in the very first video, did sort of combine rules to sort of say, go sweet, go to the sweet fruit. He would put go as a command, and he would follow that by saying what you should go to or where you should go to. He could use the word open, and then he could say what you wanted to open. Open flower, that means go and open the gate to the flower. This is okay, it is a rule, but compared to the richness of the rules you learnt at primary school, that is very, very little. Well, with Kansi, because he was using his keyboards, they managed to quantify things much more. And they discovered that all the meaningful sentences he made were extremely short. And they actually did a series of experiments comparing Kansi to a human infant called Ali, who was the daughter of one of the scientists. And they measured their mean length of utterance. So Ali was tested between the age of 1.5 and 2. Kansi was a bit older, but they found that Kansi's mean length of utterance was 1.15. That means that nearly everything Kansi ever said was a single word. And just occasionally it was 2 words, which gave you the mean score of 1.15. Ali, already at the age of 2, was producing a mean length of utterance of over 3. So she was sort of saying, "Mummy, fetch toy," and the sort of things babies say. And this was a lot more, a lot richer than what Kansi was doing. But we should say at the same time that Kansi's comprehension was pretty good. So you could give commands saying, "Go and fetch the fruit in the fridge," and Kansi would know that this was the fridge, and it would know the fruit and go and get it. And so on and so on. Put on the monster mask and scare Liz. So there seems to be fairly good comprehension skills, extremely weak production skills. And at the same time, I'm going to come back to this later, but the training for Kansi was infinitely more intense than the training you do for any kid. A kid, even if the mother doesn't talk, is going to pick up the language anyhow. Kansi went through what some critics have called dogged training. 8 hours of language training every day for several years. And yet, at the end of all that, the performance was still very, very weak compared to a human child. There's been some work on dolphins, not so much on production, but on comprehension. So a man called Homo actually trained 2 dolphins. Unfortunately, yeah.
Sorry, you just argue that humans can produce language without any previous exposure to language?
No.
So
No one without exposure to language would require magic. Humans learn language from other humans. But Chomsky makes the argument, which I don't always accept, that humans do it ridiculously easily. They learn language from relatively little evidence.
do you agree with that?
Not completely, no.
Yeah,
I think he underestimates how much exposure the kids have.
I know.
But this is the Chomskyan argument. This is what he says.
Right, but I know that a large majority of linguistics argue against that statement, that actually children are exposed to a very rich...
Exactly, and I would agree with that. And we also know that we have what's called the Caspar-Hauser effect. If kids are deprived of language in their formative years, in a critical period, they never fully develop language. We also saw it with Romanian orphans. Kids who were really language deprived when they were infants, they will learn some language. They'll learn words, but they never get fluent mastery of syntax and this sort of thing. So it appears that you have to be exposed to language in some critical learning period. So I don't agree with the Chomskyan thesis. Dolphins, they did manage to... Dolphins here, they were only testing comprehension. And it's much easier to test comprehension than production. Because in production, you don't know if a failure of production is really a cognitive failure, or it's simply they don't have the apparatus to produce the signs which you want, or if it's you, the experimenter, who's not recognizing them properly. But in comprehension, it's much easier. You give a command, and you see how often the animal responds well to the command you've given. And so they invented a syntax, and the signs they were using were computer-generated whistles. So they used these whistles in a loudspeaker, and in the syntax you could have a sort of hoop, fetch, pipe, which meant go to the hoop and take it to the pipe, and pipe, fetch, hoop, which means go to the pipe and take it to the hoop, which is different. They did the testing exclusively through loudspeakers, so there was no human gesture which the animals could catch on. And they got about between 50 and 70% of correct responses to these sentences. The experiments were never finished because unfortunately animal rights people came one night and kidnapped the dolphins and liberated them, and they were never seen again. So what these dolphins might have achieved, we will never know.
You consider this to be part of chance?
Well, if you read the paper, which I've got in the bibliography, he gives the calculations for that. Well, there were many possible interpretations of the sentences he was giving, and they were getting it right. So I think the chance level was 5%, 10%. So they were many, many times better than that. Now, if you believe Chomsky and this sort of thing, which I don't, people will say there's a language organ. One of the terms he coined was the faculty of language. And he talks about the narrow faculty of language and the broad faculty of language. And this is a special thing, which sometimes he's even suggested there was a macro mutation in humans which suddenly created this thing out of nothing. From the way I'm talking about it, you'll understand I don't believe this. And I'd like to suggest an alternative. And to suggest that, I'd like to cite one particular very, very interesting, fascinating case, which is the case of Nicaraguan sign language, which you think, what's this got to do with humans? Well, in Nicaragua, as in all countries, there are deaf people. And until the Nicaraguan Revolution, the Sandinista Revolution in 1970, deaf kids were stigmatized. And they lived at home, and they basically were deaf-dumb. They never developed their cognitive abilities, and they would signal their basic needs to their family using what the deaf community calls home sign. They would just invent a few signs to say, I want food, I want to go to the toilet, please help me to dress, this sort of thing. No syntax, just a very poor semantics. With the revolution, a deaf school was formed in Managua. It started off with a few tens of students. Over the next 10, 15 years, it grew to be to 400 students. And this community was studied by a woman called Sengas, who wrote a thesis about it, and then went on to write a couple of books about it. And this community, in just one generation, created a new language, which they called, which became called later, Nicaraguan Sign Language. And you know that sign languages are full languages. So this was a language which had tense, it had markers for mood, it had a rich vocabulary. And the interesting thing was Sengas studied different generations of speakers. So basically the school lasted 4 years. You came in for 4 years, and the previous 3 years of students were your teachers. So this wasn't the teaching language of the school, this was the playground language. And just by socializing, these kids made a language, and in each generation, each year, the language became richer over an extremely short space of time. And she can quantitatively show how the language is richer both in terms of semantics and in terms of syntax as the generations go by. What had happened? The population size had changed. Having just one deaf kid with his parents was not enough to develop a sign language. In fact, she also shows that there were a few schools for deaf people. Deaf kids would go to a classroom, but there were never more than, the maximum was 25 deaf kids together. 25 deaf kids together never invented a language. They carried on using home sign. They tried to teach them lip reading and so on, not particularly successful. You get the 100 kids in the Managua school, and they actually invent a language. So this seems to show that if you have a society of communicating people above a certain size, this is a sufficient condition, at least in this case, to get language. And this is actually not the only case which is known. There's a man called Bickerton has studied the transition between pidgin language and Creoles in Hawaii round about the turn of the 20th century, at the beginning of the 20th century. So a pidgin language is a language which is used for trade in communities with people who don't usually talk to each other. And pidgin languages are notable for not having any real syntax. So it's just me want buy gun, or me begun, want, buy, doesn't matter. The order doesn't matter, nothing is inflected. You have a few basic words which you can put together to do basic transactions. A Creole is a full language which comes from the merging of other languages. And he showed exactly the same thing in Hawaii that we'd seen with the deaf kids. Here they weren't deaf, they were speaking people. But there were people from the Philippines, there were Japanese, there were native Hawaiians, and in just a very few generations, they invented an original Hawaiian Creole. Obviously it had words from all the languages, but all they needed was a community. It was actually the kids of the traders who invented the language. And just like Sengas, he found that cohorts of different ages, as time went on, the language became richer and richer and richer. So again, this is a second example. Obviously it proves nothing, but it's a second example that if you put a number of people together in a community where they have to communicate, you can get a language. Of course, this requires a brain. No, if you get a community of ants and put them together, they will not develop a language. But the community size is necessary to get there. If you just have the human on its own, as the deaf kid living in his family without languages, these were not abusive families. They were loving families, but there were no other deaf speakers, no other sign language speakers. Then language doesn't develop. So, community size, I would claim, or at least I would suggest, claim is too strong, I would suggest is a necessary condition for language. And I'm going to suggest later on, it's a necessary condition for lots of other things. I can summarize what I'm saying here. Certainly we have certain cognitive abilities which can allow us to do certain things. Like the Nicaraguan kids before the school, I can develop a small vocabulary. So can apes. I can develop maybe some very simple ordering rules to communicate some things. Hoop, go fetch, hoop, whatever. But to get fully fledged human language, you only get it within a certain social structure. And I think that's fundamental. So the brain is necessary, but the brain is not enough. And that's one of my first messages. Now I'll come now to the second theme of this lecture, which is culture itself.
Richard, are you taking a break?
I don't usually take a break now, I go straight through. I've been requested to go straight through,
right,
and this is fine for me. So, Herman and Cole suggested that if you actually look at human abilities at a given time, most of them are learned. Nearly everything we know how to do, we've learned from our parents. Relatively few of the skills we have are just purely genetic. We acquire them. Now obviously that requires a brain. If we can't learn, if we can't teach, we're going to go absolutely nowhere. If we don't have enough cognitive abilities to use what we've learned, this will take us nowhere. But we need a culture. We all grow up within a culture. So this second half is going to be about culture, but before I can talk about that, I think we have to define terms. Because culture can mean many different things to many different people. So we can have a narrow definition of culture. If we talk about high culture, we can talk about classical music or classical Indian music from that point of view. We can talk about literature, we can talk about art, we can talk about poetry. That's a perfectly valid definition of culture, there's nothing wrong with it. But for what I'm going to say today, I'm talking about a much broader definition of culture. I'm talking about behaviors, or beliefs, or norms, or even artifacts, which are transmitted from one member of a social group to another member of the group. And what does cultural traits have in common? First, they're not genetic. So if I transmit to you English, there is nothing genetic about your knowledge of English. That comes from me. If I transmit how to shoot a chimpanzee with a bow and arrow, there's nothing genetic about that. That is culturally transmitted. Culture, to be recognized by an anthropologist, has to be independent of ecological conditions. Later, if it's just an adaptation to a local condition that we can all invent individually, for instance, I learned to hide from the rain. You know, it's raining, so I hide underneath the tree. presence of rain and the presence of trees, it's not a cultural adaptation. I don't need anyone to teach me that. I can work it out for myself. That is also not culture. It's shared within a social group. So most people within the social group have this trait, and it can vary rapidly over time and space. So if I move from one part of the forest to a different part of the forest, I can find different cultural traits. And if I move from one century, or even from one decade to another decade or another century, I can find that the cultural traits will change very rapidly. And cultural change gives a means whereby an animal or a human can adapt to new conditions much faster than it can adapt genetically. If you think of genetic change, humans will have a generation maybe once every 20 years. It's going to take thousands of years for an allele to spread through the whole population. But for a cultural trait to spread through the population, it can take just years. We know that. We've all observed it. We can have a new fashion which can spread in months. So cultural adaptation can be extremely fast. It requires much less change in biology than genetic adaptation. So cultural adaptation is a very powerful means for adapting to the outside world. Now, just as many people claimed that language was exclusive to humans, so people, maybe often using a narrow definition of culture, also claimed that culture was exclusive to humans. One of the first challenges to this view came from Japan. Gradually spread throughout the tribe. The spread has been documented. They've been documenting it for the last 40 years. So this habit of one monkey spread to every other monkey in the group, and the habit is completely unknown to monkeys living in identical ecological conditions elsewhere. Even if you give them the sweet potatoes, they don't try and wash them because no one's ever thought of that. So this is a very simple example of cultural transmission. Since then, people have found lots and lots of cultural traditions in lots of different species. So Witten, who is the chief author who writes about ape culture, has documented, there's a paper in Nature in 1999, 39 different behavioral variants which match the criteria for culture we saw before. They're not genetic, they vary from place to place and from time to time. They have no obvious ecological justification, though of course you can never rule that out. Someone was telling me the other day we have to look through the animal's eyes. The animal might see variation that the observer doesn't see, so you can never totally rule out the ecological justification. And they've observed mothers teaching the cultural skill to their infants. In fact, in the case I quoted yesterday from Bosch, we see mothers in the zombie forest teaching the infants to pound cooler nuts with stones. And before the infant is good enough to actually get the kernel out of the nut, it takes about 4 years. So this is a real intensive teaching effort. And every adult chimpanzee in that particular social group can effectively get the nuts. And in other groups, not very far distant, the nuts are still there, and they're not regarded as food. So this is real culture. Von Schaik, who's actually at Zurich University, has found similar things in orangutans. Things have been found in dolphins. And again, it's matrilinear transmission. They're using sponges to go and probe for fish under rocks. Only one matrilineal lineage has learnt this, and you can actually see it's transmitted. But they've done some genetic analysis, which is slightly beyond my skill set. If you read the paper, you will find that they claim this is not a genetic mutation. They're reasonably confident this is a genuine case of cultural transmission. So we have culture. Of course, culture requires some sort of cognitive aptitude to get culture. So various people have compared different animals and seen what their aptitudes could be. And there's one set of interesting experiments in which they take human infants and chimpanzees, and they give them a battery of different tests of intelligence. Some of these tests are in the physical domain. So it's, can you open the box with the key? Can you pick up the ball and put it on the box? And on these particular tests, the humans, the chimpanzees, and the orangutan get extremely similar scores. The humans are very, very young. They're infants. But then you have tests of social abilities. So can you pick up the thing I'm looking at? Or can you give it to the other infant? This sort of test. And here, the human infants do much, much better than the ape infants. So it seems there is some sort of social intelligence which the humans have and which the other apes don't have, and which facilitates them. You can criticize this because the humans are, of course, socialized. This is a 1-year-old kid. There's a 1-year-old kid, or 1.5-year-old. He's deeply socialized. He's been with his parents the whole life. He may have learned things from them. But certainly, this is suggestive. And this is only one paper I'm quoting here. There's a lot of papers suggesting that there really is some distinctive social intelligence in human infants which is lacking in ape infants. Now, what does this consist of? Some experimenters claimed it's so-called theory of mind. Do you know about theory of mind? The ability to impute intentions to other animals, to conspecifics. So, what are you thinking about? I can sort of think, she's going to steal my food, so I have to be really careful about it. Or he knows I'm looking at this, and if I'm looking at it, I can't take it. If I'm not looking at it, I can't. Then she can take it. This sort of thing. And there were some very early experiments suggesting that chimpanzees did not have a theory of mind. So in these experiments, a chimpanzee was trained. It's a very natural chimpanzee gesture anyway, to make a gesture to beg for food. And you beg for food from an experimenter, and the experimenter would reward the chimpanzee for begging. That's just training. Next, you give the chimpanzee a choice between asking for food from a normal experimenter with eyes open and an experimenter with a bucket on his head, an experimenter who's blindfolded, or an experimenter who's gagged. Now, obviously, if he's gagged, this should make no difference to his ability to see, but if he has a bucket on his head, or if he's blindfolded, it should make a difference. And these people, Povinelli is a real exceptionalist. He really believes humans are special. They showed that the chimpanzees couldn't distinguish between these cases. They would beg anyhow. Just begging was a good idea. Conclusion of Povinelli and co. Chimpanzees have no theory of mind. But this has been very much contested. And possibly that wasn't a very ecologically valid experiment for chimpanzees. So we try another one. Chimpanzees are extremely hierarchical animals. They really are. They're fascists. So if you're a subordinate chimpanzee, you will not do something bad to a superior chimpanzee, because if you do, the superior chimpanzee is going to beat you up. And this is really, you don't like being beaten up. greedy. So if you can steal food or a mate or anything else, you'll do it. So the question which the experimenters asked in the experiment we see here was, can a subordinate chimpanzee work out when a superior chimpanzee is watching a reward? So we got two cages, one cage with the dominant chimpanzee in it, one cage with the subordinate chimpanzee in it. The ranking was already known, and you have different positions of the walls where to put a reward. And in some positions, the dominant chimpanzee could see the reward, and the subordinate one managed to work out that it could see the reward and would not try and get it. In other positions, like if you put the reward here, the reward is invisible to the dominant chimpanzee, and in this case, the subordinate would take it without any problem. So, conclusion of these experimenters, called with an anti-exceptionalism, these experimenters concluded that in a situation which is ecologically relevant for chimpanzees, and this situation of relations between subordinates and dominants is extremely relevant, in that situation, then chimpanzees do have a theory of mind. They can work out very easily what the other chimpanzee is thinking.
My dog has a theory of mind, you know. My dog knows.
Yeah.
By maybe my little movements and so on, when I'm going to take him out, he knows a lot of things. I can see it just by very, very small, very minute manipulation. He already knows his behavior.
And I think that anyone who's ever owned a dog knows that this is true. You know, I've owned a dog too, and I confirm, you know, dogs can work out these things. It's also true that dogs are they've co-evolved with humans for sort of 10 or maybe 15,000 years. And they're very good at a lot of things. Like they've also been shown, even outside the experiment I showed earlier with Ricci, they have some rather good comprehension of human language. They can actually understand things without body language. They can do pretty well. It's not perfect, it's not chimpanzee level, but they're really not bad at all. Because of course, dogs which are good at understanding humans have a huge evolutionary advantage. They get kicked less, they get fed more, they reproduce more than dogs who are nasty with humans. So, theory of mind, certainly humans may have a more sophisticated theory of mind than chimpanzees, but at least in some circumstances, chimpanzees do seem to be able to show it. Another suggestion which has been made is that humans are just better at helping each other than other animals, and this helping each other helps us to build the culture, and it's the culture which then gets us all the rest. So, again, there's a series of experiments in which they try to show that chimpanzees will not help another chimpanzee, even when it costs them nothing. So you have two cages, it's a complicated apparatus, in which the chimpanzee has two choices. It can take a fruit for itself, and it gets the fruit, and its companion gets nothing. Or it can take a fruit for itself, this is what they call the 1-1 option, and its companion also gets a fruit, in a way which is visible. So that the chimpanzee can help its companion at zero cost. It doesn't have to make any sacrifice. We're not even asking you to be altruist. Just be helpful. Come on. And this experiment shows that there is no preference for 1-1 choice compared to just taking for yourself. It's not they prefer to take themselves. They just don't care. It's completely indifferent. The first thing which comes to mind, they do. So this would seem to show, according to this experiment, that chimpanzees are basically indifferent to the welfare of their companion chimpanzee. And they were actually companions. They were chimpanzees in the same social group. So this would seem to show. Yes?
Is there any record about the response of the companion?
Not in this experiment. Have any of you seen the chimpanzee with the grape and the cucumber?
Yeah,
It's macaques, in fact. Well, that's a bit. Do you know that experiment? Which one? So, you have two. I got a video of that somewhere. I can dig it out for tomorrow. I can't do it today. So you have two cages, and you have a preferred food and a non-preferred food. The preferred food is grapes. The non-preferred food is cucumbers. And you give the two animals, they're macaques, not chimpanzees, but I think chimpanzees would work just as well. You give them both cucumber, and they don't really like cucumber. You know, it's still food. They both eat it, and that's okay. Then you give chimpanzee number 1, you give grapes, and chimpanzee number 2, you give cucumber. And it just throws the cucumber in the face of the experimenter. You're being unfair. Now, actually, it's a lovely experiment. It's a lovely video. And I'd like to quote it to prove I'm right about everything. There's a problem with it, and that's one of the reasons I'm not showing it. Because actually, the chimpanzee will throw the cucumber out of the cage if grapes are even visible. It doesn't require them to unfairly feed the other animal. So it's really, it just wants the best food available, and it's frustrated if it doesn't get it. So maybe it's objecting to the mind of the experimenter who's so ungrateful to give cucumber. It doesn't really prove what it claimed to prove, which was a sort of chimpanzee instinct for fairness. And I agree, but actually macaques are also pretty fascist. They're another hale. I'm a bit doubtful about how much fairness there is in macaque or in chimpanzee society. It's not what I'm looking for. So in these particular circumstances, you don't get it. But that doesn't necessarily prove it.
Just one quick question. Have similar experiments been done with humans?
Wait 1 second. Wait just 1 second. So these experiments were done with food. And chimpanzees really like food. And they're deeply competitive about food. So, you know, it's like doing experiments on collaboration between two 2-year-olds when what's at stake is a favorite toy. It's not going to work. You're not going to get a lot of collaboration. Anyone who's ever had kids knows this. It's a miracle if you get collaboration. But now let's set up a situation which is different. We have an experimenter who is just having difficulty. Actually, he's an actor, or he's a really dumb experimenter. He just can't do something simple. And so, he does this in a room, and there's a young human infant, and we're going to see how the young human infant reacts. We do this for a few minutes, we then change, and we do the same experiment with young chimpanzees. And in this case, where food is not involved, where you're just being asked to be nice and not to sacrifice grapes, in this case, we get a completely different behavior, as we see here.
Oh. Oh. So. So. Einmal hier und einmal. Oh. Oh.
Hi.
Ah, so. So. Hä? Oh. 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 So. Oh. Ah, super, kann ich wieder umrühren.
noch ein Brief. Und zwar an meine Oma. Pass mal auf. Hoi. Willst du noch was Ding machen? Ja. Bitteschön. So, jetzt kann ich den Brief an meine Oma schreiben. Jetzt kann ich endlich den Brief schreiben.
Ui, da ist die Glocke. Guck. Ja.
Where they have a control condition, where the guy is not obviously in difficulty, and you have a help condition in which he's asking for help. You know, please help me, I've dropped the thing. And they found that most of the infants helped, but so did most of the chimpanzees, but only on some sorts of tasks. When they had to reach out and fetch an object, they were very good. But as we saw before, in a food task it didn't work, and there were several conditions which they tried where the chimpanzees really didn't help. So, if we sort of say chimpanzees are helpful, humans are not, or vice versa, this is too vague. We really have to design our experiments very carefully to ask the right questions. So the answer seems to be, yes, there exist circumstances in which chimpanzees will help, but no, chimpanzees will not be helpful in all circumstances. So what are they? Here we get lots of answers from wild studies. And if we actually look at humans, we find helping is not universal. Like in virtually all societies, humans will share food. This is absolutely normal. But there were some experiments done in New Guinea where people had to punish a bad behavior, or at least say how they would punish it. And if you were, they would always punish. But if you were part of the in-group, part of the social group, they would punish you a bit. If you were part of the out-group, they would punish you an awful lot. So they had it wasn't just being sort of helpful, they had different standards according to who you were. And in fact, there's an interesting book by Jared Diamond, a popular book, it's called The World of Yesterday. He's talking about Papua New Guinea, where he actually worked a lot. And actually, for a long time in New Guinea history, the out-group, if people met them, they'd just get killed. If you were a stranger and you moved into the territory of a group, end of it. So it's not that humans are universally likable but they can be helpful in the right circumstances within the group. And actually we find rather similar things within chimpanzees. There's another book I strongly recommend to you all, very old book by Francis Duval, called Chimpanzee Politics. It goes back to 1982. And in this book he shows that male chimpanzees form political alliances that can last for decades. He actually quotes there's one case where there's a feud going on and they murder an unpopular chimpanzee sort of 10 years after the date of the bad fact. So they have feuds and they can help each other. One chimpanzee will rush to help its companion if it's part of an alliance. And they do this even if they are genetically unrelated. So you get that. Bosch, more recently, has documented something which other people deny, but he says he's actually observed that in his chimpanzees in the forest, they routinely share monkeys they've killed. They kill these Columbus monkeys, and there's food sharing. Now, to catch the monkeys, you need a team. You have to be 4 or 5, because you have to surround it. And some monkeys go through the floor of the forest and make a huge amount of noise and chase the monkeys away, and other ones are waiting in ambush to catch them and kill them. But the ones who do the killing always share the food with the ones who are chasing. So there is some mutual help there. And actually there's other things documented. Very often apparently male chimpanzees will adopt infants who are orphans, whose mothers have been killed, and will carry them around, sometimes for years. There are handicapped chimpanzees who live effectively in the chimpanzee social group for years and years because they're fed by the others. So, I'm not trying to claim that chimpanzees are nice, but neither are humans. But there are conditions under which chimpanzees too appear to demonstrate helping behavior. Which brings me to the last thing I want to talk about today, which is imitation and learning. So I said, yes.
One question before. We're talking about how chimpanzees are similar to humans. We're seeing phenomena like sharing, and we're talking about tone. But I think that there are even much simpler animals where you can find this phenomenon. For example, wolves live in a gang and share as well.
This is absolutely true. No, I'm using chimpanzees sort of, straw man is not the right idea, because if chimpanzees are really different from humans and everything, they're usually the case which is quoted as being our sort of closest relatives. And a lot of the cognitive psychology experiments are trying to show that chimpanzees can't do things. But I agree with you. If you think, yesterday we were seeing tool making in crows, you don't even need to go to mammals. You can get you can get language in parrots, as we saw with the experiments with Alex. So I'd agree with you. I'm using primates because that's where most of the experimental work has been done. But definitely are similarities which go beyond primates.
And even tone, I mean, don't you think that every predator needs to somehow understand what's going on and interpret that? I mean, if you know that if it sees you, it will run, so you have to have some kind of cognitive.
That is, I've actually not seen that argument before. It sounds like a good argument to me.
I think it's not such a good argument, because then, it doesn't mean that they don't have theory of mind, but I think that to show that if you, like you said, you just said the very simple rule that those animals can have. If I'm visible, he will run. This is very simple. We don't need theory of mind on any time for that.
But you need to
when
know.
I don't
you
hide
need to know that
if
you hide after this wall, it will not be able to see you, right? Or like things like that. You need to be able to see things from.
It is one way to do it. It's probably the way you would do it, but it's not the only way to do it.
So I think this is a classical cognitive psychologist versus wild observationist argument, because we see a behavior. We can observe the behavior, and when we're good, we can agree about the behavior. We know it's hiding behind a wall, or we know that it catches the prey. Then we interpret. And classically, the exceptionalists will say, we can explain all this by instinct. And you can nearly always construct an explanation which can explain it by instinct.
Not just by instinct, but by associative learning.
Okay, by associative learning, that's fine. Okay. But I can also explain this by theory of mind or by some complicated reasoning process. And the real experimental problem, or scientific problem, is distinguishing between those two explanations. Quite often, they both fit the facts. And obviously, they're not both true. So this makes it really hard. And we saw yesterday we were talking about the cognitive science experiments. You can do very rigorous experiments with controls, but the observationalist will tell you that it's not ecologically valid because you've separated the animals from their parents and God knows what else. You can do less rigorous experiments in the wild, and the cognitive neuroscientists will tell you it's anecdotal. So it's really hard to get a decision on these things. Yeah?
One more comment that I think is often the case that it's just as hard to prove that humans have anything different than instinct and associative learning, but some people call it names because we have language for it. So I call this kind of association theory of mind, for example, because I have a name for it, and you could say I can contemplate about it.
And I can make complicated theories about it too.
Yeah, but it doesn't necessarily prove that what we have is different than regular
I would totally accept that. And very often there's a thing called Morgan's dictum, which says that if you're trying to explain an animal behavior, you should always use the simplest possible explanation. And by extension, that means if you're trying to explain human behavior, you should also look for the simplest possible explanation. And there's a lot of things you can explain by cognitive learning, by associative learning. I think that's one of the things we thought yesterday. You can always say he made a complicated plan to do this, but maybe he didn't. Maybe he learned one clue in the environment which he could use to work it out. We talked about Picasso and Manet yesterday. I'm pretty sure I could train two-year-olds to distinguish between Picasso and Manet. They would see something visual in the picture which they could use as a cue to do the distinguishing. And they might actually do better than the university students because they're not using complicated cultural baggage to get there. So very often there are simple explanations even for us. That I think is a totally valid point. Let me just carry on. I'm coming towards the end and time is running out. So another thing which has been claimed as being exclusively humans is the fact we deliberately teach our young to do things. And it has been shown that there are some differences between how teaching goes on in humans and in chimpanzees in this case. So apparently human infants over-imitate. In other words, you teach them a task. There's several ways to do the task. They will always do it the same way as the teacher, even when there's no real advantage to doing it. Whereas, strangely, the chimpanzees in a way seem to be more cognitive, because they will not over-imitate. They will work out a way of getting to a goal. So in these experiments by Tomasello, a human demonstrator shows how to do a task, like it's normally getting a fruit out of a box or something like that. The chimpanzee will get the fruit out of the box, but the human infant will do it the same way as the experiment. The chimpanzee will just realize there's a fruit in there, you can open it, let's find a way of opening it. Now you can't really say one of those is better and one is worse, but they are different styles.
You can't say the imitation one is better if there's a good chance that there's one better technique that the rest of you can imitate. There's an argument out there.
You can do it that way, yeah. So there are different styles of learning. And we can argue that some may give different efficacies of transmission. And it's possible we can think that if you get very effective teaching, this will help the spread of the culture and therefore help to get us to this cumulative cultural evolution, which is what is one of the things we're trying to explain. Even the potato washing here has actually been criticized. They say, okay, this could be culture, but it took it so long to spread through the troop. They started observing this in the late 50s, and it hadn't spread to the whole troop until the 70s. That was really slow. If you think of the spread of a fashion among humans, it can be extremely fast. There's been observational studies. Chimpanzees can take 100 hours just to learn to stick a stick in a termite mound and take off the ants. when there's a very recent study in 2014 with Bosch again, where they look at female chimpanzees who move. When female chimpanzees reach sexual maturity, they move to another through this sort of genetic mixing going on. But they don't transmit their behaviors to their offspring. They first socialize, they acquire the behaviors of the new group, and then they transmit the new behaviors to their offspring. So there's no transmission from the old group to the new group. You get a linear pattern of transmission within the new host group, where the females have just arrived. And that's very different from humans. So there are differences in efficacy of transmission. There's also, but along the lines of what you were saying, we can also find simple explanations for humans. And there are some anthropologists claim that actually the sort of intensive teaching people are talking about here doesn't happen in most human societies. In most human societies, the kids learn exactly as in chimpanzee societies, just by observation. They watch and they gradually learn. And the idea that you learn explicitly by going to school is a very Western, extremely modern thing, when teaching is primarily verbal, conceptual, and theory-based. And therefore, precisely along the lines you were saying, is sort of, we can't explain the whole of human culture by explicit teaching, because explicit teaching only explains a few human cultures, and it's not a human cultural universal at all. It's part of our weird cultures. So, we've seen a lot of things, and I think, having seen them, you should feel suitably confused, because just about every statement we've seen a statement saying the opposite. They have theory of mind, no they don't. They help each other, no they don't. They're altruistic, no they aren't. They don't have language at all, but yes they can learn lots of words. They don't have grammar, but yes they can put the words in sequence, and so on and so forth. I think, if you're a prosecutor in a trial, you have to prove your case beyond reasonable doubt. And I think we haven't proved beyond reasonable doubt that there really are exclusive human capabilities which explain everything. Obviously the human brain counts, and that's going to be our theme for the lecture tomorrow. But I'm going to suggest...
Is it tomorrow? Is it Sunday?
By tomorrow I mean the next day. I have my own special astronomical time. So I'm going to suggest a counter-hypothesis. Is one I showed at the beginning. You'll see it better when I distribute the slides, because these are a bit out of focus. But a fundamental thing is the shape of our societies. And we've seen 2 or 3 examples which make this plausible. They don't prove it's true. We saw the example yesterday of the Aborigine society in Tasmania with very small population. With very small population, it appears you get a process of cultural impoverishment. This particular society we looked at yesterday gradually lost its tools over time. Today we saw the opposite example. We saw the case of the Nicaraguan kids. We talked about the case of the Hawaiian Creole, where an increase in the change of society caused suddenly a language to emerge, apparently from nowhere. A language with very rich characteristics. So, not on Sunday, but on Monday and Tuesday, I'm going to look at the relationship between the structure of human societies and human culture, and the structure of societies of non-human primates, and how their culture develops. And I'm going to try and suggest there's a causal relationship, and I'm going to suggest a modeling strategy which could give us proof or falsification of that hypothesis. But before we do that, there's an elephant in the room, which is the brain, which is what most of you do for a living. So, on my next lecture, we're going to talk explicitly about brains. We're going to talk about neuroanatomy. We're going to start off about talking about the size of the brain. We're going to talk about a thing called the encephalization quotient, which I'll explain belongs to a man called Jerison, which I'll explain. It's the quote. Well, I'll explain it next time. I'm going to talk about cell counting. How many neurons, how many glia there are in the human brain compared to the brains of other animals. And I'm going to talk about the microanatomy of the human brain, cell types, cell density. what is different between our brain and the brain of other animals. That's on the brain side. I'm also going to look at genetics. I'm going to look at how different or how similar the human genome is to the genome of other great apes. I'm going to look at ex novo genes in humans. I'll tell you in advance there aren't any. I'm going to look for positively selected genes. There are some genes which we have good mathematical evidence of being positively selected for over human evolution since our separation from the last common ancestor with respect to other apes. And I'm going to look at some genes which are associated with specific human characteristics, in particular with brain size, and in particular with language, a famous gene called FOXP2, which we can discuss next time. So that's the next one. That's all for now. That's our first 3 days. Tomorrow morning I will send you the slides of this with the bibliography. I remind you about the exam. The exam is an essay. You choose one theme I've discussed in any of the lectures. You have to say, give 2 points of view, one for, one against, for certain cases. Then you have to express your own point of view. I want literature references, so I want it to come from the literature. And I said there's a special bonus if you contradict what I'm saying here, and if you introduce ideas or material which I've not put forward during the